This is part 31 of my series on my N-gauge model railway project. Previous parts cover the project from its inception through the creation of the baseboard, selection and laying of track, building of scenic items, obtaining rolling stock, etc. The project is ongoing. This part is by way of being a bit of a catch-up on various scenic items that have been added to the layout in the past little while and not previously covered in this video series. Some of these items were kit builds, some were just ready-made items. From the top left in this picture clockwise, a Faller Saar Valley background, a Graham Farish ash plant, Midland parachute water tower built from a Fleetline kit with a bit of kit bashing, Metcalfe workers' cottages, Graham Farish sanding plant, and a Cowan yard crane from a Fleetline kit. A while ago I went up to British Model Trains in Cambridge, Ontario, and picked up a bunch more stuff. Nigel with British Model Trains is basically the biggest stockist for UK model train items in Ontario, perhaps in Canada. Unfortunately for me, he hardly does anything in the way of N-gauge rolling stock, being naturally focused on the more popular British 00 gauge. However, he does carry quite a wide variety of scenic items, kits, etc. in British N-gauge. British Model Trains is, I believe, the biggest stockist of Metcalfe kits in North America, and since I've generally been very pleased with Metcalfe items, I picked up quite a few more Metcalfe kits on this trip, though it might be a while before some of them get built. The PN 112 goods shed near top left has already been built, and I did feature that in a previous video on the goods spur I added by Scraptoff Station. In this video we'll see the workers' cottages to the right of the goods shed in this picture built and added to the layout. A couple more of the Fleetline white metal kits will also be featured. At right are the Pico wagon kits, some building of which I've already featured. As you can see, I also got two nice LMS crests, although I'm not quite sure what to do with them, but coming from an LMS family I could hardly pass those up. First up, let's see the Fleetline round water tower, what I would call a parachute-type water tower, widely used by Midland railways and then inherited by LMS. Here you can see the basic parts that come with the kit laid out, 5 white metal parts plus some rubber hose, wire to make a pipe, already bent in this picture but it comes straight with the kit, and an etched brass ladder. The kit contents list said it was also supposed to include a piece of chain, but mine didn't. Here's the tower, basically assembled as per the kit instructions. I wasn't entirely happy with this, as I felt that it looked as though the hose would be very awkward to use for filling a tender or loco tank. I looked at various pictures on the internet, and the only one that I found with just a straight hose coming down out of the tank was from a heritage railway and looked rather like a hastily kludged arrangement. Most of the pictures of round towers showed a swing-out arm, similar to a simple water crane, so that the hose could be swung out over the track to fill a tender or tank. So I added a swing-out arm to this tower, fabricating it from styrene tube bent over a hot iron. I wasn't too clear how the valve was supposed to go on, since it's not, as you can see from the instructions at the back, it's not actually included in the illustration. I put it on top next to the pipe using a piece of chain that I had on hand to connect to the valve. I masked the hose, which I had glued on, and sprayed the tower with primer. Then I painted it white and weathered it with diluted brown enamel. I painted the chain dark metallic. Here's the completed tower on platform 1 at Colville Station, where I previously had the P&D Marsh platform water crane. I moved the P&D Marsh water crane to Scraptoff Station. I'd wanted to put some kind of backdrop at the east end of the layout, as it looked rather ugly and awkward just seeing the book and record shelves there. I checked around and came to the conclusion that the best value in backdrops appeared to be the ones from Faller in Germany. I ordered their Saar Valley backdrop, which is basically just a summer semi-rural landscape that could easily pass for English countryside. I like to think of it as the Saar Valley, since I'm from Leicester and my layout is intended to represent that area in the 1930s. The Faller backgrounds are excellent value, being well printed on thickish stock around 20 inches high and 9 feet wide in 3 sections. This is much larger than most other backgrounds you can buy. I only used 2 of the sections here, as the end of my layout is only 4 foot wide. Unfortunately, I didn't do the best job of gluing the background to a backing board. I used white glue to glue the background to dollar store foam, but despite my best efforts it wrinkled, and I didn't get the join between the sections perfect. Still, it actually doesn't look too bad. Flash photographs really bring out the flaws in things. I certainly wish I'd done a better job of mounting the background, but it's still much better having it there than just seeing the shelves. Unfortunately, the joint really stands out with flash, and the wrinkles, of course, are more visible as well. But the joint's hardly visible at all in normal room light, and the wrinkles aren't that noticeable. In other news, I made some progress on my yard area, although it's still a work in progress, as I still haven't received a coaling tower, and that will be a major feature that will rather dictate aspects of the layout of the yard. Still, I did receive this Graham Farish sanding plant. This is for filling the loco receptacles for sand, which is forced under the wheels through pipes to give extra traction when needed. Here's the sanding plant tentatively placed on the layout over the entry to what is intended to be a loco servicing spa. Here's a bit more of a close-up of this Graham Farish resin Scenic item. And here's a loco using it, the Union Mills 3F tender loco. In front there is a coaling and water station built from the ratio kit some time ago. Here I'm making a start on the Metcalfe Workers' Cottage kit. I thought this kit could provide some railway cottages to go behind scrapped-off stations, such as were often found next to stations to accommodate railway staff. The kit builds 2 of these semi-detached cottage buildings and 4 sheds, 1 shed for each occupant. Here, one of the cottage buildings has its lower floor done and is about to get its upper floor windows fitted. Here are all the window and door parts, with their acetate glazing already fitted, waiting to go into place in the buildings. Since these are people's homes, the doors are different colours, and I did fit curtains to the larger front windows. You can see the curtains just about in this picture. Here the main roof is on, but the gables are not yet fitted, and nor is the front entry porch. The gable roofs are rather tricky to get on, actually. This is the back of the cottage building, which does now have the gable roofs on. And now the entry porch has been assembled and fitted, but hasn't got its roof yet. The instructions offer 2 different ways of doing the porch roof for some reason, as you can see at the top left in the instructions here. I couldn't quite understand why. I went with a longer porch roof with barge boards, as I thought it would look better and more consistent with the rest of the building. I don't quite see why they didn't just make that standard. Here's the porch with its roofing fitted, although the barge boards still aren't done yet. Personally, I find making the chimney pots the most aggravating part of building Metcalfe kits. It's extremely difficult to roll those little strips of printed paper cut out from the instruction sheet into anything like convincing, neat, cylindrical chimney pots. And the workers' cottage kit is particularly trying in this regard, since presumably they needed fires in each room, so each dwelling has 4 chimney pots, making 16 for the whole kit. Here's my attempt at making the chimneys for the first of the cottage buildings. Now the chimney pots have been glued to the capstones, and the capstones and pots are glued to the top of the chimney stacks, and then the completed chimneys are glued into the openings in the roof, seen here from the front of the building, and here from the back. Again, you can see the different coloured doors there. I didn't bother to put curtains on the back windows. And now the ridge tiles for the tops of the roof have been added. Barge boards are also in place. Front of the building, that's with the porch with the entries in the middle, and the back of the building. Note that at this point the edging has not been done, that is going over the edges of the card parts with suitable pencil or paint to hide the white edges. That considerably improves the appearance of the finished buildings because it hides the edges of the card. Here are the sheds. There are 2 for each cottage building, so 4 altogether in the kit set, which means 1 shed for each occupant as the cottages are semi-detached. Here's the first of those cottage buildings in place behind Scraptoff Station. It does actually have the sheds behind it, but you can't see them here. You can just about see a shed peeping out here. This is a picture without flash. The edging is mostly done here, except I forgot to edge the porch at this point, and you can see the difference. See how the white edge on the corner of the porch stands out, whereas on the corner of the building the white edge doesn't stand out because it's been coloured in. And now the porch has been edged, and you can see the difference. Even in this flash photograph, you really can't see the edges of the card at the corner of the porch now. I'm afraid these cottages are going to be quite noisy to live in, being right under the tracks like that. Though I live just across from a railway line myself, and it really doesn't bother me, except when it interferes with recording. Again, a picture of the same scene without flash, pretty much. The loco passing is a Horwich Mogul crab, a discontinued Graham Farish model. One final view of the cottages. I will get the second set built and added soon, actually. They're in progress on the bench as I make this video, and they're going to go basically just beside the others, this set. I also received the Graham Farish ash plant, a model of the ex-LMS one preserved at Carnforth in Lancashire. Here it is sitting in my yard. Here's a flash close-up of the ash plant. Ash would be shovelled into the hopper at the left there, which could then be run up the rails and emptied into a large container inside the tower. Then wagons would be brought up under the tower, and the ash would be released into the wagons to be hauled away. Here's a view of from the other side of the ash plant. And here you can see both the ash plant and the sanding plant temporarily placed in the yard. Looking the other way past the ash plant, the double-track spur there to the left of the ash plant is where the coaling tower is intended to go, but until I actually get the coaling tower, I don't really know if it'll quite fit there, because the track, it needs 2 tracks and they have to be the right distance apart, so the whole yard layout is still somewhat tentative. Here's the same view with flash. I'd also like to add more loco parking tracks, but it's getting very tight in the yard area. The building at the top left there is hiding the wire. You can see the red and black wires inside it. Those are the wires for the set of points next to it, because I don't want to pass them through the board and wire it permanently at the moment, because I may have to move this whole spur to get the coaling tower to work. Okay, here's one more Fleetline white metal kit. This is a Cowan yard crane. Fairly simple assembly. Here it's basically assembled and sprayed with primer. And then I sprayed it black. The stick at the right is pointing to the hook for the crane, mainly to remind me that it's there. And here's the crane assembled, using the chain that came with the kit. The chain is a bit clunky and overscale, but at least it hangs straight. It's almost impossible to get any kind of thread or wire to hang straight in this smaller scale. And here's that crane tentatively placed in the yard for now, beside the building, hiding the wire from the points. And that's it for now for this rather mixed bag. Hopefully the coaling tower will come soon and I can firm up the yard a bit. More to come, including more scenic items, finds from another local train store, and more rolling stock in future parts.